Kiran, it is an honor to have you on with us today. You are a real screen winner, Choice Award winner, co-executive post-producer of the hit series Alone and The Climb with Jason Momoa, and now you're an AI filmmaker. Why the transition to AI filmmaking?
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you guys. Thank you. It's so nice to be here with both of you. I really appreciate you having me on. Um, why the transition? Like look, like look at our industry. Well, I mean, I think that's tied to a bigger question, which is like, what is going on in our industry,
Yeah,
in the entertainment media industry overall, and then, we all know each other specifically from, the reality TV world, which I think has been especially hard hit by all the changes in the industry the past couple of years. Um, but, I think I'm a freelancer. So my whole career, I've been in the industry for 15 years. And my whole career, I've kind of gone project to project, TV show to TV show, production company to production company. And then you get on a series that runs multiple seasons. You get to stick around for a while, which
yeah,
is always great.
that's
Um, and I've made my living that way for a very long time, and never really had trouble getting work just because there was a lot of work to go around. Um, Obviously you look at the past 2 or 3 years in our industry, I think most people can't really say that anymore.
yeah,
Um, there's so many reasons that things in the industry have shifted and fewer projects are getting greenlit and there's kind of less work all around and it trickles down to, the freelancers like us, the people who work on the projects and, make the shows. Um, but the reality is, the past 2 years, I've also felt that, like, I've been hustling to get work and, the people who would give me work previously weren't working, and then I'd go to networking happy hours with TV friends and no one's working, and, you kinda get to a point you're like, "Okay, in the past, like, these are the rooms that my next job would come from,
yeah,
or these are the contacts where my next job would come from." But when you end up in a position where all the people you work with aren't working, it's like I kinda got to a point I'm like, "Okay, like, I think like many of us, I'm like, "Okay, I need to pivot or reinvent myself in some way, um, just to A, to pay the rent,
yeah, yeah,
and B, if I want to stay in entertainment specifically, um, where is the ball going?" So that's kind of what about a year ago, what I started thinking about. I think just the nature of where the entertainment industry is at kind of forced me to be like, "Okay, I have to change, I have to pivot." Like many of us are, I have to because I can't I'm getting 50% of the work that I used to get, which is more than all other people I know even, but,
yeah,
50%
Yeah.
gonna cut it to paying your rent.
Well, I remember, I mean, it was specifically like a year ago because we all had an amazing run on with an Annie show called Booked. The three of us did
yeah,
56 episodes of Booked, which was amazing, amazing run. And then it seems like as soon as we finished that project, the industry just kind of like bottomed out. And I remember a year ago, Karen, you and I talked like, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And it was, sort of like you're figuring out like what's happening with the industry. Like, is this really like a big change or is this a big lull? Like, what's happening? And then second question is, well, what am I going to do about it? And there was, because our skill sets are so specific, like it could transfer to other industries, but we love being storytellers. That's what we do. So it's like, well, what do you do? How do you take those skill sets and adapt to all the changes that are going on in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, and I noticed, I mean, I think it was shifting even earlier than booked, Jen. I feel like
Oh, yeah,
well,
yeah.
yeah,
No, we were
yeah,
just lucky. We were lucky because we
we're
were
lucky.
working.
yeah,
Yeah, but
Mhm.
it did start to erode, probably 2 years ago. I think you're right. Yeah.
Mhm. I remember because I had my daughter, in June of 2022, and then kind of I took some time off, and then that fall, I reemerged back into the freelance TV marketplace. I was like, okay, I'm ready to work. And I was like, well, there's no work,
Yes. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck. I'm like, wow, things really shifted while I was busy having a baby. um, but yeah, it all changed, and after books, so I guess last spring, when we wrapped on that show, I, I was like, okay, do I need to pivot? And I was exploring different things. And there are a lot of producers who are pivoting outside of the industry entirely.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and Jen, I think you're right. Like our skills are both specific, but also highly transferable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
producers have insane project management skills. We know how to meet tight deadlines. So actually something I was considering, oh good, like back in spring of 2024 was, okay, do I go into project management? I started taking like the Google project management certification course. I got
Oh,
like
yeah.
halfway through it. And I booked a TV job. Like I booked a TV job.
Wow.
I'm gonna go do that.
Yeah.
Um, then out of that TV job, I was like, this is about a year ago now, last fall. I was like, okay, do I, do I go back to, I could probably get a job as a project manager. But man, like that's just the logistics part of the job. Because producers, I think particularly producers in nonfiction and reality TV, you you have to be good at two things, and we get to do two things. One is which is logistics, planning shoots, planning crews, managing an edit schedule, managing a team. We're doing the logistics side of it, but we also get to be creative and we get to think about
Right.
story. Um,
That's right. Because they go together, those two things.
right. And in a lot of industries, those two roles are very, very separate. So, I
That's a
thought,
good point. That's a really good point, actually.
well, even
Because
in
that
advertising, yeah, I
yeah,
was,
that's a unique skill set that we have, is to be able to have the creativity, but also know how to get it done. Like we do both things. But you're right, other industries are kind of one or the other, I
yeah,
guess.
like I was talking to some people, as part of my like exploration, I was talking to some people who work in advertising, thinking, "Oh, well, surely brands have money and there's so much work in advertising." And, that industry also is getting hit, but it was really separate. The people I were talking to who were producers, it was really more on the production management side of things, and less on the story and creative. That was really more the domain of creative directors. So it's interesting, like I think in our niche of the entertainment industry and reality TV, we really get to wear a lot of hats, and that's something I loved.
Yeah.
And to transition out, I was like, if I do project management, I could, or any other number of things, I could do the logistics part of it, but I would be leaving the creative behind. And I wasn't, about a year ago, I was like, I'm not ready to do that. I'm good at this. I love it. I love that part of it. And I don't want to completely walk away from that. So, I was really brainstorming, okay, how can I still stay in the entertainment industry and how can I still use that part of my skill set? Um, and, obviously, like AI video generators, there was a lot of buzz in the media, and I was honestly like pretty skeptical at first. I was
Yeah.
like, there's a lot of fear around it, understandably so. And I was one of those people who was afraid. I'm like, is this going to take my job? Are editors going away? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
is this really good? Like, I didn't understand it.
Well,
And
there's a
also,
lot of unknown. Like we don't know that much about AI. Like AI is still, kind of emerging. Like, I mean, it's still kind of, it's mysterious, in a lot of ways. Like we don't know its
yeah,
capacity. We don't know what it means. We don't know how it's going to affect our lives just yet.
yeah, it's the Wild West.
Yeah.
And the industry forming around it now, is also in its birth.
Yeah.
It's the very early stages of it.
Yeah.
Um, so, and I think even just to get in the tools a year ago felt intimidating for me because
Hmm.
there's so much. It's like, where do I even start? And then a friend of mine through the Producers Guild, I was reconnecting with a lot of people. She recommended a course. There's actually an AI filmmaking school, an AI filmmaking course. And I was like, oh, well, okay, now I have an entry point.
Yeah.
So I ended up, I'm like, what else am I doing? I need to upskill. Um, and this area is growing. And I think that for me is kind of why I ultimately decided, okay, I'm going to take the plunge. I'm going to take this class. And then that was my entry point to everything that has come after. Um, but, I thought, okay, like if I want to work, where's the growth? Where's the growth happening? Like if I'm looking at,
Yeah, that's a smart question. That's a
yeah,
smart question.
where's the growth? Because that's where the job opportunities are going to be. Even if it's a new industry, we don't know exactly what the job opportunities are yet,
Yeah.
what job titles are.
Yeah.
But if I look at TV, it's contracting. Like there are fewer green lights, like there's less ad revenue going into traditional TV and cable, which is another thing. Like there's less ad revenue going there. Um, so where's the money going? Like where is the money going and where is there going to be growth? And one of the areas I thought about is the creator economy and YouTube. There's a
Yeah.
lot of ad revenue going
That's what we're
Yeah.
doing. That's
Yeah.
what we opted for.
exactly. Yeah. And the other thing was AI. Like this is growing. Like this is a
Yeah.
growing. So why don't I focus if I'm going to learn some new skills, then why don't I try and learn skills in these areas that are growing and see where that takes me?
Yeah. I was going to say, so the Producers Guild is also where I learned about Curious Refuge. And I believe that's the course you're talking about. I was going to ask you, what course did you take within there? I did the AI advertising, but
Oh, I just did that one too.
okay, yeah, it's great
Yeah.
course, and I just sent in the certificate information so I can get my certificate. Don't know what that'll mean in the real world.
I ended up taking the Curious Refuge documentary class first
How was that
because
one?
it was great, because my background is documentary and nonfiction reality TV. So
Yeah,
for me, that felt like the easiest entry point because I already understand the process for
yeah,
how to make it. It was the AI part that I had to learn and how
yeah,
to use AI tools within that process.
yeah,
And the instructor of that course is Fred Grinstein, who has a background as a nonfiction executive. He was at A&E for a time. And I've since met him a number of times. He is the co-founder of a community group of AI filmmakers called Machine Cinema. Um, and it's been a really wonderful resource. So that class kind of not only gave me an introduction to the tools and the AI pipeline, like the AI video pipeline. There's a whole process and whole pipeline for how those projects come together. As much as people want to think it's one click and does everything,
yeah. No,
really it's
no, not at all. Yeah, not at
Yeah,
all.
and did you make an ad for the class, Sean?
Yeah, I did. I did 2 ads, and I'm working on one right now that I'll probably put into the universe. But yes, and the thing that's even more crazy is just the speed at which there's updates for all these tools too. It's like you blink, take a week off, there's an update. It's really wild. But the other thing is people that aren't in the film business, aren't in AI, I just say if you've ever sat down at a slot machine, that's kind of like AI filmmaking. You put your prompt in, and then you hit that button and you just pray that the generation is exactly what you want, and then you keep putting that button until it gets a little closer to what you want, and then you might take it to another tool and fine tune it and change the clothing of the characters, or try to create a Laura to get long form character consistency and some of those other things that you need to do with it. But it just it's growing. It's just so hard to keep up, and I finally gave up on trying to keep up with it, and just try to have fun. The other thing is, though, it's expensive, is it not? To like pay
It
for all
can
these
be, yeah.
different things. It's like,
Well, unless you are using, like, a tool like Comfy UI, and Comfy UI is not it's you have to be highly technical to use it. I mean, a lot of
yeah,
people learn it, but it's probably the most technical AI image and video generation tool out there. It's used in a lot of professional AI workflows, and it allows you to work with a lot of open source models, and it has the capability to generate everything on your own machine locally
yeah,
versus generating on the cloud. And when you're generating on the cloud, which is, like platforms like Midjourney and FreePic and,
yeah,
Google
yeah,
Flow, like, you are Runway, you're signing onto those platforms and you are paying them, and anytime you make a generation, you're using up credits. And when you run out of credits, you have to buy more credits. So that
yeah,
can become more expensive.
yeah,
with something
Okay,
like
you guys are talking. I have no idea what any of you guys are saying. I'm like, my AI is like Chat GPT. That's where I'm at. I'm like, what are you people talking? No, but I love it because I'm here to learn. I'm here to
Yeah.
learn because I literally know nothing. Like AI, I feel like is creeping into our lives, and like on my iPhone with the Lensa, like video photo enhancer and
Yeah.
Chat GBT. But you guys are on like a whole other level, and I love this. So I'm gonna learn. We're all gonna learn. But like, let's back up a second before we get into the tech part because I want to know like is this viable, like you're making a pivot from your TV career to AI filmmaking, so you're kind of throwing down on AI, like this being a viable job, like something that you can do for work and to make rent money and all that. But like where does that apply, like how do you where does AI filmmaking exist right now? Is that like commercials or branded or storytelling, or like where is it?
yeah, yeah, it's a valid question. And I think I also want to preface by saying, like, I am still available for TV jobs to anyone
Yes.
Yes, of
Yeah.
listening. I
course.
Yes.
TV
Yeah.
jobs. I'm on
Yeah.
tele. I'm a freelancer. I
Wait.
just did a job for 6 months earlier this year, and then went back into the AI tools. I'm doing both, right?
Yeah.
You're
So
versatile. You're
Yeah.
versatile.
yes, I'm not. I'm still open to TV jobs. Everybody.
Yeah.
Um, but I think there are a couple things. There are so I think increasingly there are going to be opportunities in the traditional media ecosystem for people who know how to use AI tools and use AI video tools. Um, Curious Refuge is training staff at Netflix. Like they're the official AI trainer for Netflix. I know A&E networks, like they are dabbling in AI for recreations. That's something they've been exploring. So I think there is going to be opportunity. I think it's just early. Outside of, the traditional entertainment ecosystem, you also have AI native content studios like Promise, Sean, that you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier. Promise, like Secret Level, um, like Jenny, I mean, that are popping up and they're basically startups,
Yeah.
but their focus is solely AI generated content. Um, And it varies, again, this is a nascent industry. I think there were within the past year, a lot of these studios have sprung into existence and are raising money. Um, I know some of them, Secret Level is one that has done a lot of work for brand and advertising clients. Um, Jenny is one they're really focusing on recreations for true crime and history.
Oh wow, yeah.
And I'm trying to think.
But is
Yeah,
the
they're
but
just some of these, and a lot of these AI studios are also looking to develop, original IP as well.
Yeah.
So I think there's opportunity there to work um, as a producer or as an AI artist. So I think there's this new role that is coming to being, which is the AI artist role. Um, because all of these places, including places like A&E networks or Netflix, anyone who is dabbling in this, they need people who can wrangle these tools to get the output that they need. And it is not as simple as everybody in
Yeah.
the
It's
PR.
yeah. Yeah.
It is like, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
there's no magic button, right?
No. No.
No, I mean, yes and no. I think you have to know how to prompt it. You have to know how to iterate on it. I mean, I'm generating images and then I'm bringing them into Photoshop and retouching them because usually they're imperfect, or I'm color correcting
Yeah.
before I'm throwing it into a video generator. So, it is a process. So it is a whole skill set.
Yeah.
Um, so that is a role that is definitely exists now. And then there are producer roles where you have to understand that workflow and understand those tools, much the way that in my TV job, I oversee the post story team. So I oversee teams of producers and editors. And while I would never sit down in Avid and try and edit a TV show myself, I have to know the tool enough and know what it's capable of to be able to communicate with my editors and to know what I can and can't ask them to do within that tool.
Right.
Even if I don't have the in-depth technical knowledge myself to edit a TV series in Avid, I am working with editors, technical artists all the time who know that. So I also think these roles are emerging in the AI studio ecosystem where you
Hmm.
producers who understand the workflow and can manage the teams. But
That's
a
so
lot of this
interesting.
is
Yeah.
new. It's all new. It's all getting figured out now. And I think from talking with a number of people who work with AI studios, uh, as something that is especially desirable to them are people with traditional production and media backgrounds who know how to use the AI tools. It's because it's hard to find. Because a lot of people who are AI artists, are social media creators or maybe they're engineers. They have more of a purely technical background. So they don't necessarily understand the workflows, right? The production pipelines, like, rough cut, fine cut, lock cut, and, getting stuff done
Yeah.
really fast on deadline for clients, or getting creative done on a deadline for client. They may not understand it in the same way as someone who has our background, who
Right.
comes from the world.
Yeah.
So I think, for people with our kind of background, who've worked in traditional media and entertainment, if you can learn those tools and develop that into a skill set, like you have a superpower ahead of everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
like you
so
said,
interesting.
most of the people I meet out on the West Coast at these meetups and different AI things, they're the developers they're building the AI. They're the techies, right? They don't have that traditional production experience like you're saying. And that's most of the people I meet are that. They don't have that. And
And
like
what about the storytellers? Like, I would think that having
that's yeah.
the skills to tell a story is important. Like, you can't just have little images running around. They have to be doing something.
Oh, yes. Um, yeah. Yes, yeah. Oh, 100%. You're hitting the nail on the head right now, Jen, because something that I have been a part of the AI, not only have I been using the tools, but I've also have been a part of the growing AI filmmaking community here in New York. And then in May, I went to, I think, the biggest AI film conference in the country, which is called AI on the Lot.
Yeah.
Um, and there were a lot of AI studios represented there, a lot of AI artists. Um, and something that I consistently hear is that story is still king, is that storytelling skills is the most important. Because,
Yes.
yes, um, because look, it's while I don't think it's as easy to use all these tools as maybe all the media and PR would say it is, like, there's still a lot of content. I mean, it's still like the means of production have become democratized, right? So what these AI tools are doing is they're giving anyone the capability to generate a whole video or generate whatever is in your mind. I mean, it's truly
That's
amazing.
wild. Yeah.
Everyone has access to that now, which is incredible. Um, but not everyone knows how to tell a story. So anyone can put out stuff into their feed or their socials, can create this content, but not everyone knows how to tell a story with it. Not everyone knows how to put together an edit, for example, or not everyone knows how to write a script. So something that I consistently hear, like in my AI filmmaking communities and at these events, is that, story is important, and that when places are looking to hire and they're looking, if you're an AI artist and you have a portfolio, something they want to see is, can this person tell a story? Not just what is all the beautiful artwork that you're generating. That's important. How technically challenging is this? I mean, that's also important, but does this tell a story?
Right.
That's
Right.
still something that's really, really important.
Well, thank goodness
Yes.
AI cannot replace the storytelling part. Sorry, AI. No,
No.
that's
I mean, AI can speed up every part of that process. I
sure.
did
Yeah.
my first project that I did
The history of rhodiola.
yeah,
The k-
so as for the AI documentary class I was taking at Curious Refuge, my project is I had to make a 5-minute documentary. Um and I'm like, okay, if I'm going to put the time into doing this, I also want it to serve someone. So my husband has a non-alcoholic beverage company called Curious Elixirs. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, like I'm going to make this project. Um, can I make content for you? And then can you distribute it?
Oh,
And
that's
then
so
you client,
perfect.
you're basically my client, because I've made content for clients for 15 years. To TV network clients. I'm like, you're my client.
Perfect.
What do what can I make for you? And he in one of their products, one of their flavors, Curious number one, he had this adaptogen called rhodiola, and he wanted something that could educate his customers. So that's where the idea started. And then I decided to do something really tricky for a doc. I was like, okay, for my first project, I'm going to do end-to-end AI, 5 minutes. Everything's going to be AI generated. No interviews, no archival.
Yeah.
All going to be end-to-end AI because that's what I'm trying to show. Because I already have done documentary, I've done reality. I have that in my portfolio. But I used basically AI in every part of the process, including scripting, but the difference is I used ChatGPT and Claude to help me script that project, but I
Okay.
also was providing the outline and because I'm not a screenwriter. I'm not a screenwriter by training. I've written voiceover for shows, but I'm not a screenwriter. I have written scripts for television, but it wasn't replacing me. Like I basically, I gave it an outline. I'm like, hey, help me write these lines. This is kind of what I need to say. And then it would give me some ideas, and then I would tweak it and I would write it. And some things I would just completely rewrite myself. Other lines I was like, "Oh, I actually really like that," or I'd combine a couple different things. So it was kind of working with Plot as a creative partner,
I
to
think
just write a
in the
script, but it was not replacing what I could do because honestly, by
right.
itself, like it's just so generic. Like the text that would pop out was just really
Yeah.
generic, or ChatGPT would be like so verbose, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, guy,
But
like."
it's more like an idea.
Um,
It's like an idea generator, right? Like you're just like, hey, ChatGPT, like, what do you think about this? And it gives you like keywords and just things to trigger your mind. But it's not, they're not great writer. AI is not great writing. It's just a good first draft, a good like keywords and, maybe some tickly things that you could play with. But it doesn't
yeah.
like, but the sentences are terrible.
It depends. I mean, I definitely had to tweak it,
Yeah.
There were a few sentences I was like, "Wow, that's actually really good. I can take that."
Yeah.
But most of it, I ended up rewriting or massaging it. Um, so it can't I don't know, it's interesting. So in terms of if it can tell a story by itself or not, I think it still needs substantial human input, but it helps speed up the process.
Right. Right. That's a
And
great way
helps
of, yeah.
create a process for us, the filmmakers who are using it.
Yeah. 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 I think sometimes too, when you're writing out the prompt to do a script, for at least for me, it's like I might as well just write the script, because you start writing such a nice comprehensive prompt. You're just like, well, I think I just wrote the script. So
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's faster just to do it the old way.
yeah, yeah. But I do like to try some of those tools for writing, but usually it's by the time I write my prompt, I feel like, well, that's exactly what I want. Why am I hitting the generate button?
Mhm.
You're like, I'm smarter than I thought I was.
Well, yeah, you want to be lazy or be quick and prompt it out, but or tell the AI to do it. But if you're giving like once you learn prompting like we do at Curious Refuge, and just the details that go into it, when you start putting all those little details and all those things into a prompt, you might as well just write the whole damn thing yourself.
And a prompt is like just for us beginners, as AI beginners. It's just you're just throwing descriptions out to generate the image that you want, right? Like you want to kind
Yeah,
of
I mean,
give it bumpers like I want it blue and I want it to be shiny and I want it like that kind of thing.
yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're prompting. My experience has all been with like the LLMs, the large language models like ChatGPT and Claude,
Uh-huh.
that there's prompting for an image generator like Midjourney or Nano Banana or, Flux Context are all image generators. And then there's video generators. And the video generators usually work in one of two different ways. There's text to video, which I think is what you're talking about, where you write out your prompt and it generates the video from the text prompt. But the workflow that I mostly use and that I think is used in a lot of professional workflows is image to video, where you actually take an image that you've generated and you put the image in the video generator, and then you write a prompt saying how you want it to animate. So, um, I'm working on an advertisement right now, and I needed a shot of a woman walking through a bar. So I got my image I generated with Nano Banana, this image of my character, like, standing at one end of the bar, and then I put that image into the video generator with the prompt, smiling woman walks through a bar. And then the video generator animated it for me.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I could have done it with a text prompt as well. I think image to video, that workflow is more popular because it allows you more
Well,
care consistency.
and
Because
we
if I
speak that language. Like we speak that language.
Yeah, well, you know, being able to speak that language is really valuable when you are prompting, especially prompting for video. If you can understand camera moves, if you can
Yeah.
understand lighting, if you speak any of the language of cinematography or
Yeah.
directing,
Yeah.
then that language can strengthen your prompt.
Yeah. Yeah, like Jen, you can put the type of camera that it's shot on, the type of lens,
No way.
where your light
Yeah.
is, the movement,
Oh my
and
gosh.
and
Really?
yeah, it's amazing. Like, yeah, when I learned that, like, I'd literally change up the lens. That'd be the only thing I would change, and you would get
Wow.
a little different feel. It was just it's
Wow.
it's 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 yeah, you can get really precise with it.
Yeah. And since my background, it's interesting. So my background is in television has mainly in post production. Like I've done some work in the field and in casting and development kind of earlier in my career, but more as a senior producer and a co-executive producer, my work has mostly been in post production. Um, so some of that language of cinematography and lighting, like a production, I actually am not as acquainted with as the language of an edit, I know, right? The language of
Sure.
posting online, I know. But,
Sure.
that part of it I don't know. So as part of my upskilling, I've actually been taking some like visual storytelling and cinematography classes just to, okay, what is the language here? What is this camera move called? Like, what are different lighting setups I should be thinking about solely? And the reason I'm doing this is not to go work in TV. It's not to go work on set, although I am still available for TV jobs. But the reason I'm doing it is so that I have language to prompt AI so that I can get better generations. And so
Well,
that's the main reason that I'm doing it.
it's you just made me think of something because everyone's, freaked out about AI taking over people's jobs. Like we could potentially be taking a camera guy's job away, if you're just resorting to AI or whatever. But I'm just realizing maybe it just looks different. Maybe you have like a collaboration of teams, like you work with a camera guy that can help you bring your vision to life. You're just more talking about it and prompting it than being in the actual field and doing it. So it's sort of the same similar process, just it just looks different maybe. I don't know, I just realized that like those skill sets of a cameraman, like a skilled cameraman can be used to collaborate with someone like you that's putting a film together and might not know the exact language, but they could help bring that vision to life.
I
As
bet anyone who's worked as a cinematographer can generate an awesome video from a prompt.
oh, I'm
Yeah.
bet.
I am
Yeah.
I don't know how many cinematographers are training as gen artists though.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
part of that is, you wanna be on set. I think people who well, I don't know, I shouldn't speak. I'm a post person. You guys are the filter. I think some people love being on set and love
Oh,
being,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
Oh,
look,
yeah.
it's sitting at a computer prompting
Yeah,
is
that's not the
not gonna
same.
give you
That's
that.
not the same.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm a post person, so I love sitting at my computer and doing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
In AI, it's all a post process essentially.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
the new production is generation. Like if you look at like the kind of the pipeline, like in pre-pro, you still have. I mean, probably the pipeline it's most similar to is animation pipeline,
Right,
where you're doing
sure.
so
Yeah.
you're storyboarding, you're, getting your character designs, you're figuring out your style, and then you're generating your keyframes that you're gonna feed to your image
Yeah.
I'm misspeaking. I think each studio does a little differently. But there's still a pre-pro process where you're writing your script, you're figuring out what your characters are gonna look like, you're figuring out your visual style, your storyboarding. Um, and then the new production is image and video generation. Like, that's production. And then post is similar. You're going into edit, you're going into color correct, you're doing if you have to touch up anything with After Effects, like that part of the process is still similar in a lot of ways. But the new production is this whole image and video generation phase, at least within like an AI workflow.
That's so
Yeah.
interesting. Well, I've heard that in terms of like people's faces and like how people look, like AI is not that great at it. But I watched your video, The History of Rhodiola, The Curious History of Rhodiola. It's really good, by
Yeah,
the
it's
way.
Thank
great.
You should
you.
Really
all
good.
check it
Yeah.
out. It's 5 minutes. Um, but I thought the faces of your characters were great. It was like an animation. It was really fun. It was really great. It was much crisper than I sort of imagined. Is that something that AI is getting better at? Is just facial
It's
features,
there,
people?
Jen. I
What?
mean, it's there. I made that film
Mm.
back in like January, February of this year. And then I took 6 months, I did a TV job. So I stayed connected to the AI community, but I was out of the tools because I was on a TV job.
Yeah.
Um, we all know how those go. It's very, you're busy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Grateful for the work, and that was a wonderful project too. That was a documentary series. That was wonderful. No use for Gen AI at all. That was like an observational docuseries.
Right.
I went back the other way for 6 months,
You're
Yeah.
so
and then
versatile. You're so versatile.
working on
Yeah.
That's what working on. And then at the start of this month, the start of October, I dove back into the AI tools, and in 6 months, like,
Yeah.
6 months may as well be 6 years in AI
Wow.
because
Wow.
it's changed so much. So I'm working on a project now, I'm working on an advertisement, um, for Curious Elixirs, and then also for my portfolio to show I could do brand and client work, and I'm using different tool stack for this one, and, the largest portion of my advertisement is a dialogue scene, because again, I'm being really ambitious.
Yeah.
It's 2 characters, so I need them to stay consistent, I need their voices to be consistent, you know? Yeah, I'm just choosing really hard things, and Jen, the tools, like, I've mainly for my images, I mainly use Nano Banana, and the character consistency it's perfect. I mean, it's
Wow.
truly it's look, I'm sure it's specific image to image, right? It's if you have a different image, it may not work out as well. But with the images that I had and was generating, I'm able to get different camera angles with the same characters. I mean, the tools are there. Like
Yeah.
they're
Well,
really good. They can
even
do
a
it.
couple months ago, Sean and I were putting the podcast together, and we needed a photo of us to say like, well, who's Jen and who's Sean? And so we sent our regular photos in, and Sean sent it. I don't know where you sent it, but it generated like an AI image, and it was like, who are these people? I think
Yeah.
Sean was black, and I was
Oh
like,
no.
it was
Yeah.
like, wait.
Yeah.
It took
Yeah.
our photos and made that like that had nothing to do with this what we looked like. It was so funny. We couldn't use it at all.
Yeah, I don't
It's
remember
very
what
bad.
tool I ran those. I ran it through a bunch of tools, but the one that generated that one,
It
it
was
might have been Chat
ridiculous.
actually. Dolly, I think it might
Oh.
might have been that did that one. Um, but yeah, it was yeah, you just, that's yeah, you don't but like Kiran's saying, like just in the last 6 weeks since we've really been pushing to get the launch of this, I haven't done much in the AI space and finally turned it on a couple nights ago to kind of get going to try to get completed on that project and updates. There's so many updates. It's just this industry's moving at light speed. It's
It is, yes. I mean, the tools are moving at light speed,
yeah, yeah.
but
But is there an industry driving this speed? Like what is driving the industry, I guess? Because it seems like there's a lot of yeah. Does that make
well,
sense?
I think, there are 2 parts of it. There's like the tech industry, right? They're like making these companies are actually making the tools are tech companies. Um, and I can't speak for what's driving them, but probably profit.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
right
Well,
Yeah.
that's what yeah, I mean, it has
Yeah.
to be, right?
here, right? It's a gold rush right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's so many one of the reasons there's so many tools is because like we're in the gold rush period of all these startups creating AI tools. So that's one part of it. And that's an area that I'm not in the tech industry. So I can't speak too much for what's driving that growth. Then the users of these tools, are people like us, like people in the entertainment industry. And that's been slower to adopt. The tools are definitely developing and moving at a faster pace, I think, than the actual adoption of the tools. Um, because Sean, for some of the reasons you alluded earlier when we were talking about Producers Guild, like, the legalities around this, like
Yeah.
the copyright
mm,
owns the copyright to it. It's infringing on copyright. And who owns the IP,
Yeah. That's the
in
big
an
one.
industry where IP is everything. Who owns the IP for these generations? So, I think the entertainment and media industry has understandably been slower to adopt. And I also think, and you have a legacy media company, you have a huge cruise ship. It can be turning that cruise ship and adapting is going to take more time. You need to move more slowly. Whereas there are also these smaller AI content studios, AI native content studios that are popping up, like Promise, like Secret Level, like Wonder Studios. Um, they're like startups, so they're a little more nimble. Like they're going
mm.
in AI first mentality, So I think the ecosystem is going to be a combination of all of these things. But, I think I think there's a bigger question, Jen, is like what's driving it. I mean, if you look at the history of entertainment, technological progress has always been a driver
Sure.
of changing entertainment with,
Yep.
CGI and NLEs and, you know, like modern camera. I mean, it's always driven um
Yeah, we've
change.
always adapted to tech. Like that's, we've always from, even from, tape. We went from tape to digital to, cable to streaming to different cameras. Like tech has always been a huge part of our
Yeah.
conversation.
I almost think the tech is a big part of what's driving the change in entertainment. Like that's
Yeah.
driving change. I think, people who work in entertainment, like it's taking more time to adopt those tools. Also because the tech is moving so rapidly. I mean, how
Yeah.
it's like, even people who are in it, it's really hard to keep up and stay on top of everything. Um, and then so I think tech is actually the fact these tools exist and can be used in these ways is just a big driver in and of itself.
Yeah.
So if you generate an image like your characters in your rhodiola movie, do you own the IP if you generate the image?
Well, it depends. And I just want to preface this by saying my information, what I'm about to say is from a few months old. So this guidance could have changed in the past few months because things are moving rapidly. But my understanding as of a few months ago was that like a machine cannot have copyright. So, and you can't copyright something that was made by a machine or something that's not human. Like in order for there to be copyright, there has to be human authorship. So what that means is if I take a photo, I own the copyright of that photo. If I am getting AI to generate an image for me, I don't own the copyright to that image because it was made by an AI. However, let's say that I generate an image and now I'm taking that image into Photoshop and now I'm doing substantial work to it in some way, which for a curious history of rhodiola, I mean, all of my images were coming into Photoshop to fix them a bit. Um, and some of those images have a lot of work where I was compositing things on top of things, to really get exactly what I wanted before I even put it into a video generator. So there are some images in that film. If I basically used what Midjourney gave me, because I used Midjourney to generate the images for that film, I don't have copyright of the image. But if it's something that I put a lot of work into, kind of in post, then I could claim copyright to that particular image. However, the whole piece, the whole film, I have copyright to. I can claim copyright to because I'm making the decision about how to arrange the shots. How, I edited it, I'm directing it. AI is not doing that. So it's kind of like in a documentary, if you have archival footage, like, does the producer own the copyright to each of the archival images that are used in the documentary? No. But can the producer have the copyright to the documentary film as a whole? Yes, just not necessarily to the
Right.
specific components.
That's a good analogy. I like that. That's a really good analogy. But it seems arbitrary because, like, who's to decide how much work you're putting into any image, you know? I mean,
I
like
don't know. Yeah, the courts. I mean, I think
like, that's a
if it comes
real
down to this, the courts will decide. But I think it's important as an AI filmmaker that you are tracking. That you're tracking
Oh,
what.
so you have all the list of all the change, all the thing. Okay, got it, got it. That's interesting. Yeah.
Mhm. That way, if ever, hopefully this never happens, but if you were ever, you ever were in a copyright case and needed to prove your ownership, then you have a written record. Okay, hey, like, this is actually the way that I changed this image.
I changed this image 20 different ways, so here's
Exactly,
the
right.
Yeah.
list.
And
Got
I'm
it.
not talking about reprompting mid-journey 20 different ways. I'm
Yeah.
talking about, like, doing
Photoshop.
on it. Yeah,
Right.
or even in mid-journey, you can in paint, you might be able to claim that. I'm not sure. I mean, again, this is the Wild West, so
Yeah.
I don't know to what extent these cases are even being
Yeah.
brought to court or being tested in a court,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think they're gonna be the
Yeah.
ones to decide ultimately.
And
Yeah.
there are some tools that think Adobe Firefly, and I can't remember what else. They train all the AI on royalty-free images. That's how they train the AI. That therefore, if I go in and create something on Firefly, I do own it, but that tool is so far behind the other tools. It's like you're still getting six fingers and weird things, and you don't seem to get that.
Would you own the output? So, because they're kind of two. I think they're, and I'm not a lawyer, guys. So
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
just make this clear.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
a lawyer. I'm just learning all this. Like, please don't take any of this as legal advice to anyone who's listening. I'm not a lawyer, but it's just my understanding from what I've learned.
Yeah.
Um, is like there are, like there's issue of like the output, right? If I have an image generated as the output, who owns the copyright to that output? Who owns that? And then there's like the training data itself, which I think is what you're alluding to, Sean, because these models are trained on data and you have models that are trained on licensed data, like Adobe Firefly. I think Moon Valley is another model that's trained on licensed data. And then the vast majority are not trained. They're just
Yeah.
trained on everything.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it depends on, who your client is and, what they care about. Do they want you to use a model that is trained only on licensed data?
Yeah.
Or do they not care as much? Because the reality is that the best outputs come from the models that are trained on everything.
Yeah.
Like, those are the highest quality outputs. So it's kind of a give and take. But then, like, the issue of who owns the output, because even if I'm like, Sean, if I were to use Adobe Firefly to generate an image and then I'm not substantially altering that image in post in any way, like, it's still a machine generating it though. So, or is it a
Yeah.
different agreement with Firefly? Like, do
I
I own the,
thought their agreement, like when you log in,
or
said that you own the image, but again,
really?
not lawyers. We would have to read that and double check that. But
There's another emerging field is lawyer AI lawyers.
Yeah,
A new emerging field.
yeah. Yep. A whole new legal field, potentially.
Yeah, because yeah, I could see where this could get really, really tricky. Because you have so many different softwares and images and prompts and like there's a lot of layers to it. It's not like, hey, took a photo and that's mine. It's like you're using various 10 different softwares to create any one particular image and that gets very complicated. Well, good for you, Karen. I'm truly impressed with
Oh, thank you.
your willingness and nimbleness to just take on this whole new AI world. Because it's like you said, there's a lot of unknowns. It's kind of scary, and you've really taken it on, and I think that's wonderful. Um,
Yeah, it's, I don't know if thank you, and I don't know if I'd use the word scary. I mean, I definitely think a year ago before I dove into the tools, it was intimidating.
mhm.
Mm, but, kind of having been in this world for about a year now, I actually find it very energizing because, part of it for me, it hasn't been just about learning the tools and making content. It's also been about connecting with other AI filmmakers and community. Um, because, look, in the world of television, your next job comes from your network. And
Sure.
so, like,
Yeah.
okay, if I wanna work in this field, not only do I need to, like, build a portfolio and learn the tools and educate myself and upskill, I need to build a new network.
That's
Um,
right.
the
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
this is for me has also been about community building. And actually one of the ways, like, I'm actively contributing to building that community in New York, is each quarter I host a salon, uh, for AI filmmakers called the Machine Cinema Work in Progress Salon.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
And each quarter we have filmmakers who show their work and present it and then have a Q&A with the audience and people can learn how they made it. So it's really an opportunity for peer-to-peer learning and to network. So community building is a huge part of this too.
Oh, I wanna go to one of those. Will you invite me? I
Oh,
wanna Oh,
follow me. I post about on LinkedIn. I host.
great.
Um, Anyone can follow me. I'll get my LinkedIn. If anyone can follow me on LinkedIn, and I'll post. I post whenever we post them. Um, But that community feels very energized to me.
Hmm.
I like a year or so ago, I went to a couple TV networking events, right? And in the past, like a job might have come from something like that. Or, I make a new friend and then maybe a job comes from that. But the energy in that room felt very different to me because no one's working, everyone's afraid.
It was
Like that.
dead. Everyone's depressed.
Yeah, sometimes what felt scary, like that room felt scary to me, because like
Mm.
we're all I mean, it's a tough we all know, all of everyone here in this podcast knows that, like, this is a tough and scary time to be in the entertainment industry.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
brutal.
And oh, it's brutal.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, being in the AI filmmaking community, it's growing.
There's
Like, it's
hope.
all new.
Yeah.
There's a sense of excitement. It feels
Huh.
very energizing. It feels a lot more, like, we're all kind of at the beginning of something new and figuring it out together, and because it's early, the community is still small. So you
I
kinda get
love
to know
that.
everybody. It feels different, so I don't even feel scary, like, it feels exciting and kind of fun in a way that, like, TV used to feel before where, that
I know
everything
the
just
TV parties are like funerals now, like, "What are we gonna do? Are you working? Is anyone working? What do we"
it's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
hard, and
Yeah.
I go on socials, I feel like every week I see posts about people pivoting out of the industry
Yeah.
entirely,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
which
yeah.
for a lot of people's is a smarter move right now.
Yeah.
You gotta
So
pay your rent and feed your families.
so who are you meeting at the networks? Like, who's there? Are they younger, older, experienced TV people, tech people? Like, who's sort of like, you know, in the tribe right now?
Oh, wow, it's such a mix. It's really people of all ages. Um, it's not just a bunch of young people in these souls, it's really people of all ages. And kind of various backgrounds. I think there are a couple of us, like I'll speak kind of specifically to the New York City community.
Sure.
There are a handful of us who come from like a nonfiction reality TV background. There are a number of people who come from advertising or have done brand work. There are tech people, a couple people who've done music videos, a couple who come from the more immersive art world, VR and XR. Um, and then yeah, and the people who are building their own AI tools, people who are in the startup world. So it's a pretty eclectic mix of people on from various sectors of the media and entertainment industry and tech.
Interesting. Yeah. I think that's so cool. And where do you see your like I mean, I know everything's sort of new and the industry's growing, but like, what's your sort of ideal AI filmmaking scenario? Like, what would you ideally want to be doing?
I think for me personally, I think there are any number of targets I'm shooting at right now. If I'm looking at, because again, there are two sides of this, right? There's the AI native content studios that are just focused on AI that have come up. And then there are the traditional entertainment companies that are starting to dabble in AI. And then I think so right now I'm trying to build out my portfolio as an AI artist, so I could potentially go after AI artist jobs or even AI producer roles. Um, because even to go after an AI producer, you really need a portfolio. I think for anyone who is trying to get into this, regardless of what your role is, you need to have a portfolio so that you can demonstrate that you have hands-on experience with the tools.
Right.
Because just
Sure.
saying you can do it doesn't really demonstrate that you know how to do it. Like you need to have work to show. And I think as people with backgrounds in television, we know how to tell story, or whatever your strength. If your strength is as a camera person, then make sure your portfolio shows that you can really frame an amazing shot with your AI generations. If editors, though that job's not going anywhere. All of these AI studios need editors to cut all of these generations together. Make sure your portfolio shows off your edit skill. Um, whatever my background is a story person, so I'm trying to make sure every piece in my portfolio is telling a story in some way. But you need a portfolio. Um, I think there are definitely opportunities to work as an AI artist, as an AI producer. So those are things I'm thinking about. I know some of the traditional media companies I think those are a little slower to move. I don't know what the opportunities are going to be there, but I know, like, for example, Curious Refuge is the official trainer at Netflix. So they're obviously
Yeah.
thinking about it.
That's
Um,
wild.
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I think History Channel has already started using AI for some recreations for one of its series. I can't remember the name of it. They're hiring artists or they're contracting out. I don't know exactly how it's structured, but I'm like, okay, there might be some opportunity there. And then I think the last thing that doesn't get as much attention, but it's not, it's like we're talking so much about the generative AI
Yeah.
part where you're generating image, you're generating video. There are actually AI tools that just integrate into existing production and especially post-production processes. And actually this weekend there was a conference at Stevens Institute of Technology called Synthetic Narratives, and I was invited to speak. And my talk was all about integrating AI tools into the traditional post-production workflow.
Oh, wow.
So they're literally tools that at each stage of post-production that you can integrate and to speed up your process. And the reality is, even before AI came along, like the entertainment industry was hurting, teams are already shrinking. Things are not getting greenlit because there's not enough ad revenue in the system anymore. Networks don't have the money to greenlight as much as they need to. So, like, these AI tools, is this a way that look, it's tricky as I want to say, is it a way to cut costs so that content can be made? And I think when you say cut costs, like one thing people immediately think of is, well, that means we're going to lose jobs. And I think in maybe a lot of other industries out there, that might be the case. I think entertainment, we've already lost the jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this all happened independent of AI, just due to market forces and
Yeah.
mergers and whatever else is contributed. Like we already lost the jobs. Now it's a matter of how do you make content with these really slimmed down teams. And so is using AI tools a way to speed up the process and fill in the gaps where there used
That's
to be, maybe you used to have 3 producers on your post team, now you have 1. So how's that one person doing the job of 3? And the reality is, like, 3 producers got cut down to 1 before AI even came on the scene.
you
So
know,
now that
that's a
right,
really
how do they
that's
do
a
it?
that's a such a interesting point. I'm going to intersect there for just a second because I think, there is that when I was talking about the fear or being scared is that, part of AI like the unknown part is like it's going to take your job or something like that. But I think that's a really good point is we've been losing these jobs for 2 years, probably three actually already because of the change of, the industry landscape changing and ad dollars moving and the shift to digital and all that stuff has eliminated the jobs already. And so AI is just going to help potentially speed up the process or give people different jobs, right?
Yeah, or I wonder if, part of why there have been fewer jobs is because, not as many projects have been getting greenlit because there's
Well,
not
there's that. Yeah. I
not
mean,
getting greenlit. And one of the I'm not a network executive, am I a development executive, so I can't, I can only speculate. Really, it's the reasons for all of this,
oh, it's
but
a very conservative market. I think there's a shift, especially our nonfiction sector of the business. There's sort of like dramatic episodics are being made and YouTube videos are being made, but our section of the business, the middle part, the nonfiction has is down 50%. I mean, there are numbers in LA. I think the workforce is down like 60% or something like that. Don't quote me exactly. Look, we're fully embracing this content creator world. I'm like, we're creators, we're content creators. This is what we do. We're just gonna
Yeah.
pivot and go to YouTube and do a podcast and
to finish answering your question, something else I'm considering is like, do I consult? Do I help production companies? Do I help networks integrate these AI tools into their existing workflows, particularly for post production? Um, is something I'm thinking about. And then does that enable them to greenlight more content again? Does that enable them to make more stuff again? I don't know the answer to that question, but I think my hope with all of these tools is that they enable more content to be created again.
right. Yeah. No, I love that. Kiran, that's beautiful. And you know what? You'd be perfect at that because you're so creative, and you have a great understanding of both of these worlds, the AI world and the TV world, and you have project management skills. So it's kind of a perfect combo of all your skills. I like that. I think that could be fun for you.
Have you always been an entrepreneur?
Am I an
Well,
entrepreneur?
I think you got an entrepreneurial spirit, right? At the top of the game in the reality TV thing, shows like the Momoa, the Alone, these are big shows, right? And you take that leap of faith into the AI world. I mean, there's so many of us that are out of work they're going to sell insurance or they're going to do these other things to pay the rent, and you got that entrepreneurial spirit. You're like, I this is what I do, and this is I'm going to upskill and go here and learn and just keep climbing that hill.
But I love that faith. But don't you think like just being in this business, like you have to have kind of a startup mentality because every project we do is a brand new project with a brand new team and a brand new mission and a brand new idea, maybe a different genre and a brand new set of rules and schedules and budget. Like every single project we do is totally different. And so you kind of have to have that startup mentality, right? Like you're a natural entrepreneur, Karen.
I think I'm like, I don't consider myself an entrepreneur. It's so funny,
You
but
are.
I think the context there's a context for this. There's two things. This one is like in my early 20s, like I went to school for music. Like I was a vocal performance major in undergrad.
Just
Like
another skill. Like she
yeah,
you're
I went to music school, and then in my early 20s, I did the whole actor thing in New York, and wasn't getting where I wanted with that. So in my mid 20s, I pivoted into TV. So this isn't the first time I'm reinventing myself either. And I think, because I did that 15 years ago, I was like, okay, I did this once, like I can do it again. But back when I was auditioning, like you're hustling for work every day.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
every day, every week. And so when I transitioned to television, I'm a freelancer. I thought like, oh, I only have to hustle for work like 3 or 4 times a year now instead of every day. This is awesome. But if you zoom out and you look at like all working people, Like most people aren't hustling for work multiple times a year at all. So, I think to be a it's interesting because to be a freelancer, like you have to be, you're always hustling for work. So you have to be entrepreneurial. It's just I'm hustling less than I used to. So to me, it feels like, and I also, I'm married to an entrepreneur. As my husband started a company, he started Curious Elixirs. He's the founder of that company. He's grown it into this very successful company.
That's
When
amazing.
he founded it in 2015, and of the two of us, like he has more of the entrepreneurial spirit and I'm more risk adverse. So when he wanted to start it, I was, he had worked at Thrillist for 7 years. His experience was in growth marketing for startups. And then he wanted to found a beverage company. I'm like, but you don't know anything. You don't know anything about making beverages. Like, so, and I'm married to you. So, you're like, our finances are tied together. And so I was really nervous about him doing that. And obviously, like, I really admire what he's built and created. So it's funny. So I always think of him as the entrepreneur. Um, because he did that and because he's more willing to do that. I feel like I right now am becoming more entrepreneurial because our industry is collapsing and I have to. Not because I'm like I'm naturally I mean, maybe I am. I don't know. Maybe it's context. Maybe I'm just married to an entrepreneur and I'm more risk averse than he is. So I don't view myself that way. But like I feel like I'm here now. I'm exploring this now because I have to. Because I mean, all of us have to.
Yeah.
I'm putting a lot of effort into AI filmmaking, but a few weeks ago I was texting with one of the producers from Booked, actually, one of our post producers. And she and her husband both work in the business and both have long careers in the business. And are pivoting out and we're looking at opening fitness franchises.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
wow.
They're also being entrepreneurial. They have
Sure.
to. They're being entrepreneurial as well.
Yeah.
They're just going, they're not staying in entertainment. They're pivoting out of it. So I think the realities of our industry and where it's at right now is in a way forcing all of us to become entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
That's
Or many of us. I
yeah.
think starting businesses or pivoting into other careers and trying to figure out other things to do. I'm just picking something that is still adjacent to entertainment and it hopes to stay in it.
Yeah.
Whereas other people, some people are choosing to just pivot out entirely.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
It's a wild time for sure for
I mean,
all of
look at the
us.
two of you. I mean, you have a podcast. You're
Yeah.
both being
We
entrepreneurs.
don't know what we're doing.
Well, how do we create content now if there aren't as many commissions? We have to
Yeah.
create it ourselves. And honestly, like if you look at the broader media ecosystem and where the ad revenue, more and more ad revenue is going to the creator economy, like making
Yeah.
your own content is a good bet. It's a hustle and it's a
Yes.
grind,
Yep.
but it's a good bet. So I think you guys are being also looking at trends and being entrepreneurial, just the fact that we're all here.
Well, hey, look, high five to all of us
Like
for
virtual high five.
we're doing it, guys. We're
Yeah.
we're doing it. And I believe in all of you. I really do. I know I've worked with you all. I know how capable you are of doing so many different things and thinking on your feet and being creative. And, Sean was out there in jail dealing with all kinds of crazy characters. Like, we know how to adapt to really tough situations. And, if that's the one thing we've all learned is adaptability. But
I could see you guys shooting. If you can go around the country and shoot in jails and work with those people and build trust and relationships with people who were just arrested. I mean, you guys can do anything. Like
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
I
work
think
with
that's true.
anybody, really.
Yeah.
I
Truly.
think that's true. But speaking of TV, so you have an incredible, as Sean said, track record and CV of producing these shows, especially Alone, which is a huge show, many, many seasons on Alone, as the post executive producer. How do you describe that process as a post executive producer?
That process really varies show to show.
Okay.
And Alone is a bit of a unique snowflake when it comes to its post process and string outs because there are thousands of hours of footage on that series. So kind of traditionally, so I also the show I did last summer was Ink Master, which is a little more formatted in terms of how they do string out. So kind of more traditionally, you watch as a story producer, you're watching all of your footage, you're making selects, you're kind of making notes, and then you're just you're making radio cuts basically out of that footage. So if maybe I have a scene I need to cut out of 2 hours of footage and I need to get that down to like a 5-minute string, then I'm crafting with the 2-hour footage and whatever interview bites I need. I'm kind of crafting the story I need, making a string out. And then that gets reviewed by your supervising producer or post co EP. Um, and then it would go into edit. So that's kind of the traditional process. Alone is a little different because there's so much footage. Like the editors are really the ones doing the radio cuts. It's not a story producer. The story producers are just going through footage and making notes and, making outlines on paper, and I would review those outlines with the producers, and then we'd give the outline to the editor, and the editor was taking on so it's a little more of like a documentary workflow, where the editor has a little more responsibility for doing radio cuts and shaping story, whereas on something like Ink Master, we were making really the goal was to make really tight string outs, so that when we handed them over to the editor didn't have to really change the story. The story should have already been there. They could really focus on like music and coverage. Uh, Alone is had a little bit more of a documentary workflow in that way. But I like to describe Alone as basically cutting a documentary on a reality TV timeline.
Okay, wow, wow. And then, and like for I guess those people that are listening that don't know, there's different, like an editor and a story producer, they're different, right? Like an editor does one thing, a story producer does another thing. I mean, could you touch on that a little bit? Just
Right, so I came up as a story producer predominantly. Like did a bit of casting, did a bit, I've done some field work, but most of my gigs, like coming up through the ranks was as a story producer. As a story producer, your job is you watch all of the footage for your episode. It's usually 3 days of footage. Like a lot of the competition series I've done, an episode's usually 3-day shoot. You're watching all of the footage and then you're figuring out kind of like what the story is or how you want to tell the story. In a competition series, there are certain format beats. There's going to be you're introducing the challenge and then, you have the challenge itself and then you're going to have eliminations. There's certain structure that is going to exist within each episode. But how it plays out and what you choose to highlight is that kind of at the discretion of post and what makes the best story. So, this role, the story producer role is it's a post I mean, I know there's story producers in the field as well. I mean, my experience of it has been predominantly as a role in post.
yeah,
And it's a role that I haven't seen outside of the reality TV industry. Um, because, in other sectors of entertainment, in scripted or narrative, you have your script. All the story is happening in pre-production.
yeah,
So that by the time you get to post, you already have your story. Whereas in nonfiction, in documentary, in reality TV, a lot of that work is happening in edit. It's happening after everything's been shot. You're finding the story. Um, so in a reality workflow, story producers are doing that work. And then they are basically, if I have 3 days of footage and I need a 22-minute episode, like you're getting that down to like 25 minutes of string outs, basically. And that's what's going to your editor. Um, because at the end of the day, it's also like if you think about from a money standpoint, it's cheaper to have a story producer go through all that footage and do the radio cut than to have your editor do it because your editor's gonna have a higher day
Right.
rate.
So it's a role that helped expedite the process because a lot of time we're filming at the same time as you're editing.
Right, yeah.
Because yeah, so like a story producer kind of bridges that gap between what we're getting in the field and what the editors are putting together.
Yes. And good story producers, you really understand episode structure. You know how to structure a scene, right? Like you know how to structure a scene. You're watching footage, you're pulling the best moments. It's called a story producer. You have to have a good sense of story and what is going to be good. And you're always trying to balance hey, what are the moments in the footage I'm seeing that are really good? And then what's that, that we want to use? Where are some of the unexpected things that happened on set that maybe can amplify this? And then, what is the overall big picture for this episode? Because you have to keep that in mind too. You can't just go completely off the rails. And particularly if you're working on something like Alone or any of the Real Housewives or any docu-soaps where you have storylines that arc across a season, that arcing across multiple episodes. You can't just like go rogue,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
episode. You're has to tie into a whole season.
Yeah.
And on Alone and on the shows I work on where you do have storylines that arc, it's my responsibility to track those arcs and look at the work that each story producer and editor team is doing and make sure not only, hey, is this story cohesive for this episode, but how is it tying into the overall big picture of the season and is this tracking? So it's a writing job.
Yeah.
We're not writers or screenwriters in the traditional sense, but it's a writing job. And in reality and especially in documentary, editors do a lot of that work.
Yeah.
You need to have a really good story sense as an editor. I mean, the best editors that I work with are not only amazing editors, but they can cut a scene. Like they're also essentially story producers as well. And they know how to cut a scene and how to make it flow for story.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, yeah, I think, and then, it makes, obviously, if the field teams are getting the right footage and covering the scene, it makes it easier to kind of find the story later on as well, because, or you have, several different plot lines or, ABC storylines. And then the post team really helps figure out, well, which ones are really working, which ones sync up, and how does that come together? And it's a great collaboration when that works.
And how important is the hot sheet?
This is the question for everybody. Everybody gets this question.
Um, it's interesting because it's my team. How many other post people have you guys talked to yet? Who are
You're the first.
First,
okay?
yeah.
So, but it's my team because we're probably using those hot sheets more than anyone.
Yes.
My process, like I can speak from when I am actually story producing, which even as a co-EP, you still you're still sometimes doing. This documentary series I did earlier this year, I was co-executive producer on it. So I was running the post team, but also there's not a lot of money. So then I was also story producing and doing kind of both jobs. So I also had like 60 days of footage that I was responsible for watching. And then, that was a documentary workflow. So we, as producers, we weren't doing radio cuts. Like the editors had, like a bigger role in kind of shaping story. And, that team was very skilled at it. When I am story producing and I am digging into an episode, the first thing I do is look at the hot sheets. The first thing I do is look at the hot sheets so I know what was shot that day. I know what to expect. If there was like a big thing that happened that day, like maybe I want to start there. Like in a competition series. So I've done a lot of competition series. Like I'll start at the end. Like I'll start at the elimination. You kind of work your way backwards through the footage in a way. But yeah, I'm looking at those hot sheets and sometimes like I will see something. Like I've had a few times where I'll see the crew shot something on a hot sheet, but then I don't see it. I don't see the actual footage in my edit project. So then I go to the assistant editor and I'm like, hey, I'm seeing that there's this whole scene they shot on this day and I'm not seeing it in the project. And they go back and they find it. Or they missed it, or, they're look, they're ingesting like hundreds of hours or thousands of hours of footage, like things slip through the cracks,
Yeah.
So, no, Sean, you can't. You can't
Well, it's
but
fun.
beyond that, I'm not using because then I'm going in. Like once I'm in the footage, I'm building my own selects. And when I'm addressing network notes, I'm going to my selects and my notes. But look, I'm also one producer,
Yeah.
and there are other producers who may be more reliant on them. Time code notes. I know a lot of producers who just go through those time code notes on the hot sheet.
Yeah.
Again, particularly for a competition series, and I'm talking about competition a lot just because I've done a lot of it, but like those challenges, I mean, on Ink Master, the first episode, it was 8 people. I did season 16. They divided into 2 teams. So it was like 8 people. And I think the challenges were 8 hours or 10. And so at minimum, you had for one challenge, 64 hours of footage.
That's wild, isn't it?
And you
Wow.
can't like, there's no way. And then our producer had 1 week to do a string out of all of that. There's no way. There's no way that you can watch it all. So this is maybe way AI. We're talking about ways AI tools can help the traditional post process.
Yeah,
This is one way it could help is
yeah.
by helping kind of parse through footage. But like our producer for that was looking at the hot sheet and she was looking at the time code notes on the hot sheet to see when things were happening. And she would have to watch selectively because you can't watch 64 hours of footage in a week and do a string out. So she would just have to like look at the hot sheet, figure out what the best moments were and watch really selectively. So
Yeah.
yeah, we need it, Sean.
Sorry, Sean.
Well,
Sorry,
there's
Sean.
Those
what's funny
scrolling out
because
time quotes are so good. They're really helpful too. I know they're annoying, but we need them.
we've
I,
had a couple executives on the show, and one of them was like, "What's a hot sheet?" And the other one was, "Oh no, I don't look at that."
Oh, yeah, because they're executives, they're not, the editors and, story producers. It's
Yeah,
my team, we're the ones who use the
yeah,
hot sheet.
yeah,
No one else, like, no the network doesn't need the hot sheet. I mean, maybe if they
yes.
need it like, if it's the equivalent of a daily where they wanna see what was shot that day.
yeah,
But,
Give
like, us, the hot sheet, like, in post, the hot sheet is literally your roadmap. It's our roadmap from the field about what was shot that day and when.
yeah,
I think you should do the intro for the hot sheet because that was the best description.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
give some love to the hot sheet. I love it.
Yeah. Well,
Just bring more post people, get more post people on your show. They'll be like, "Yeah, we
Yeah. Just
well,
only post people.
I'm trying to build a GPT that will write the hot sheet.
Whoa."
That's what I'm trying to do. Take that live log time code, ingest it into my little GPT, and it just kicks out a quick little hot sheet.
That's awesome.
That's what I'm trying to do. The problem is to test this, I need to get back out on location, and that's been the problem.
Right. You need
So
you need footage, or you just make it like a test hot sheet.
that's no fun. I'd rather go out on location and
Yeah.
get a little money, But
See,
yeah,
this is the thing that AI filmmaking can't give you. You're
yeah,
not gonna well, unless you're shooting a
Right.
reference video,
yeah,
then maybe you could. But
yeah, yeah.
I I there are a number of AI film festivals out there now. One of the big ones is the Runway AI Film Festival. It happens, I think, in June. I went last June. And there was kind of a few people I knew actually had one of the featured films. I think there were, I don't know, it was 8 or 10 films that were featured, and in one of them I knew some of the creators, and so I was at the event. I was talking to them about the film, and the film. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to remember the name. The director was Maddie Hong, and the film was called Emergence, and it basically tracks a cicada's journey from underground
Oh,
to
wow.
emerging.
Wow.
How cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. And I was talking to one of the creators. She had a small team. Maddie was the director, and she had a small team of filmmakers. And I kind of knew through the machine cinema community, and I was asking about it. And she was telling me, yeah, like for the dirt shots, they had all these shots. Cicadas live underground. Um, for the dirt shots, they actually got a camera with a probe lens and were shooting reference video, like, in her garden.
Yeah.
In her garden, the program in her garden to get these shots of dirt. And then they were feeding the shots and feeding that reference video to AI and restyling it and kind of working with it in post. Or doing a hybrid workflow where they had some live action shots and some AI shots. I don't remember exactly what they did, how they used the shots. But it was either as a live action hybrid or as reference video for AI. But like they did use real, like they went out, they literally got their hands dirty filming dirt with a
Wow.
probe lens.
Wow. Wow.
That's so
But
interesting.
for an AI film, and an AI film was recognized in a major festival.
Wow.
Speaking of festivals, congratulations about your film getting in the Red Rocks Film Festival. Is that right? The Red
The
Rocks?
Red Rocks AI Film Festival.
Red
Yeah,
Rocks
yeah.
AI Film Festival. Is
That's
that in
cool.
Boulder,
Congrats.
Colorado at Red Rocks?
Is in Utah.
Utah. Congratulations, your first film, and it's already making waves.
Thank you. Yeah, it was nice. The Curious History of Rhodiola was not only like my first AI film, but um it's the first film that I made entirely by myself. Like I wrote the script entirely by myself, directed, edited. I edited. It's the first film I ever edited entirely by myself. So that was really nice.
Did you write your own hot sheets? And
um, no, I didn't have Hotch. I had storyboards.
Oh,
okay.
cool.
First was doing storyboards. Well, because you're storyboarding.
Yep.
I had storyboards, and those storyboards became the images that I animated with. The main video generator I used for that one was Kling 1.6 for
Okay.
that one. But no, it's different. I didn't have hot sheets. I had storyboards and like thought lists. So this was very different. It was my first time working in that way. So it was nice to be like, okay, I made this is a lot of first for me, and like it was good enough to get into a film festival. Like that felt pretty awesome.
That's great. That's
That is
cool.
so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alone has won many awards too.
When I was on it, it won I have the list, but when I was on it, it won Real Screen, Best Competition at Real Screen, and Best Competition at Banff World Media Festival. It was nominated for a Critics' Choice Award as well. And since, I left after season 8, so I spent 7 seasons on that show. Um,
Wow.
yeah, a long time. I know that show was my home for a very, very long time. I'm still very friendly with the team. Um, but yeah, the show since then, I mean, could have gone on to one even, maybe it's been recognized even more. But in the time I was on it, that's what it was recognized for.
And how much footage would you say you had per hour to kind of wade through on Alone?
Oh goodness. I mean, it varies season to season. I think on average when I was on it, and I might even be being conservative here, but it was somewhere between 3 to 4,000 hours per season. So you divide
What?
that, yes.
Yeah.
It is 3 to 4,000
That's
hours
insane.
per season. And then we would have like 10 to 11 episode seasons. So I'm not gonna do that math, but it's a lot.
Several
Yeah.
hundred hours per hour then. So were the contestants just out there filming like 24/7 basically?
No, I mean not 24/7. And
I
some
mean, not while they're sleeping, obviously, but
it would
like
really
just
depend. Some contestants were very good about filming and they'd film, 8 to 11 hours every day.
wow.
Some people maybe they'd film like an hour or a couple hours, it would really depend on the contestant, you know. Um yeah, I think, if I do know like if everyone was good about filming every day on the seasons that I worked on. People were good about filming. I think the volume of the footage just varied depending on the person and what they were doing.
Did they put it on a tripod and just do the action, or were they hand holding, or kind of both, right?
All of the above, and it, again, completely would depend on the contestant, because they're the cinematographers out there, like, they're filming themselves. And the crew, especially in the early days, like, when the crew would collect cards, they'd collect the media cards, like, and in the field, they would look and get a sense of, okay, how much is this person filming? How are they filming? Like, can I see them? Can I hear them? And then at the next like media swap, they might give the contestant feedback, like, hey, we need you to film more, or hey, like you're this isn't quite working. You need to change this. But for the most part, there's no crew on Alone. There's no crew standing over their shoulder telling them how to film it.
Wow.
So, some people, were on handheld a lot, be walking around a lot, or wearing GoPros. And a lot of that, we'd have a lot of footage from them that was like that. There were some people, and a lot of it depends on strategy too, right? So if you have someone who is out walking around a lot, who's focusing on hunting a lot, then you might have more handheld footage because that's what they're doing. I remember one season there was a contestant, or his strategy was to burn as few calories as possible. That was his strategy. Like, I'm gonna burn as few calories as possible. And so he spent a lot of time sitting in his camp. So that was a tripod. So then we had a lot of footage from him with the tripod, he's like big cam and he's like talking to camera sitting by his fire pit, And we still have to go eat, so occasionally we get handheld stuff from him and he was like hunting or checking a trap. But a lot of it was just him talking to camera, trying not to burn calories. So it really depends on the person, but really they should be doing a mix of all the above. When I was on it, everyone got a main camera. They got a smaller handheld camera that they could walk around with, and they got, I think, 2 GoPros.
Wow.
What a wild show. It's
Yeah.
such a wild concept. Because what's the longest that someone's been out there by themselves?
Oh, I'm not giving that away.
What? Oh.
People watch the show. Find out. I don't know. You gotta watch to find that out.
I'm
Jen,
cheating. I'm getting the clip.
Jen, would you go on alone?
Would I go on alone? I
Yeah.
mean, what's the prize money? What's the prize money?
Most seasons it's $500,000.
500,000. I mean,
Prize pot for a reality show. And
yeah.
is those people really put themselves through a lot. I mean, the mental fortitude of anyone who goes on that show is just off the charts.
Depend. Well, where would I go? Where would you send me?
Well, mostly they go to Canada.
Canada.
Yes.
Why Canada?
Cheap.
I guess there's a lot of hunting and water and stuff. Hell yeah, I would do it. Sean's always trying to challenge me on these shows. What was it? The Barbarian Crucible you wanted me to do?
Yeah, the Barbarian Crucible.
Yeah.
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 The
And now
liver,
I'm
the Liver
alone
King.
and-
He had something called the Barbarian Crucible, and
Yeah.
it was pretty barbaric.
Barbaric.
That's a word.
And then you wanted me to do some Mr. Beast thing. I don't know. Sean's always signing me up to
Well,
do
the Beast Games would have been great because that's like a $5
I
million
know.
purse.
Oh,
wow.
yeah. I mean, $500,000. I would go live in Canada by myself for however long for $500,000. Yeah, I would do it for sure. And film it. Although I would just have a GoPro on my head. I think because if you're trying to survive, you need your hands. It's a little hard to film while you're trying to hunt.
Yes. I mean, that's tricky. And I think, anyone who has been a cast member on the show would say that, it's survival is hard enough by itself, but now you're adding in the component where you have to document everything. And the showrunner on that show, Ryan Pender, who's been on the show since the very beginning, he'd always say to cast, like, look, you're first and foremost, you're filming a TV series. That's your first responsibility here is you're filming a TV series, and that's, yes, obviously you're trying to survive, but like you are here to film a TV series. That's the kind of, we need you to do that. We need you to do that. So,
filming TV first, surviving second. Come on, let's get your priorities straight.
Yeah, well, if they're surviving, they're not filming it, we don't have no show. Then why are they there, then why are they there? So, in the cast, I think in general, the cast is always, at least the seasons I worked on, the cast was always very good about filming. So yeah, I know they're setting up multiple camera angles for things. If they're building a project, they have 2 camera angles on it. Like, they're really doing a good job. So, Jen, I don't know if you would get away with just bring a GoPro the whole time and not filming anything else. Notes from the field when they check out the car. Like, come on, Jen, this isn't working. You're here to film a show. We need to see your face, and you need to do more on camera.
Got it.
Did you ever get a chance to go in the field there?
So I never, this is tricky to answer because I had a period where I was really thinking about it, and I talked to Ryan Pender about it because I was trying to get some more field experience. And this answer is going to sound really lame probably to people, but I just hate the cold so much. And they were filming a lot in Canada.
Yeah.
Because to go in the field on that show, you are living in the Arctic for 3 months, like in the remote Arctic. And you have, obviously there's more infrastructure than the cast, but there's not a lot of infrastructure. I mean, it's very cold, things freeze. I think one season I heard like the crew was like also fishing for dinner, and they were fed, of course, but like also fishing for dinner. Like it's not an easy field gig. I know there are people who love it.
Yeah.
I am not one of those people. So I never ended up going on the field for that series. And I have mixed feelings about it. I think there's a touch of regret because I'm like, "Oh, man," like the producer who took over from me when I left, his name's Jeff Rodriguez, he's a really talented post producer. He's been running post on that series, since I left, so since season 9, and he's gone out there. So he kinda does both. He's gone out into the field and he runs post, and I just see, like, these gorgeous photos he posts of, like, northern lights and all these beautiful things in the Arctic, and I'm like, "Oh, man, like, should I have done that?" I was like, "No, I hate the cold. I would've been so miserable for 3 months, like,
Yeah.
I'm not built for that. Um I left alone in 2021 to go do a competition series, with Martha Stewart in Katona, and I was on set for 3 weeks in Katona,
Yeah.
and that was
There
great.
you
Yes,
go.
there
There
you
you go.
This is the kind of field gig I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
do, like,
yeah,
this is awesome. I'm on a set, like, it's May.
yeah, yeah.
Dang, I'm not freezing my ass off. But I have a tremendous amount of respect, for, anyone who's been on the field on Alone or, like, any survival series because, you're out there. Oh, you guys are field people. I mean, you are out there with the cast. Like, the audience is seeing the cast on camera, but, like, as the field team, you're out there with them. You're also in the cold, you're also in the mud, you're also in the muck, like, you are there
Yeah.
boots on the ground, and, to do that, like, also takes a lot of mental fortitude. Um, I feel like I'm someone who has a lot of mental fortitude, but not when it comes to cold weather.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll
I've
have
done
some.
that. I've done, I've done Mountain Man, done Gold Rush, some of those shows where you're living in those environments and yeah, you're there, you're living it. But that's why I was asking, like, if Alone, like if you guys built your own camp and you had to do that whole thing. So you answered the question. Yeah, you guys are doing
Oh,
it.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, it depends on where they're filming. I mean, there are locations they went to, like, when I was working on it, they went to Mongolia and they were erecting, like, cell towers. I mean, really having to build infrastructure for the crew,
yeah,
even just to communicate with the outside world where there's nothing.
yeah,
Um, and I think the first couple seasons they did were on a Vancouver Island. Still, a section of Vancouver Island that was, I would say Vancouver Island's remote, but it was still, like, very wild, but they
yeah,
were a little closer, the crew was a little closer to civilization, so I don't think they had to, for those seasons, like, bring in every single thing.
yeah.
Whereas in Mongolia, and I think some where they're I can't say where they're filming currently, but I know they're filming right now in a location where they had to kind of build everything just because it's so remote. Yeah, and then
Very
I'd be in post with my team, like, in my office in New York, like, in my warm office, eating my lunch,
Yeah,
eating my lunch while, like, I'm watching people starve and shiver,
yeah,
But, it was really an honor to be able to tell their stories, and it was always really important for us on that show to, um to honor that, to honor kind of the struggle and what everyone was putting themselves through. And I think we have a really good track record on that series where the cast generally was really happy with how we depicted their story. Like, yes, it was
That's
like they
great.
felt like, that's what it was like. Because a big part of Alone is, hey, this is real people filming themselves, like the authenticity is a very good big part of that show. And so for us in post, it was important to look, you're condensing thousands of hours of footage down into, an hour of television or
yeah,
11 hours of television. Um, so, there's just no way for everything to fit. So, a big part of my job and my story producer's job was to really distill everyone's story. You have, like, the best moments, like big game or, like someone's eating or, someone's tapping out, these big tentpole moments that happen across your season that you're going to include. Um, And then within that, it's like, how do we condense this person's story? Like, what's the heart of what this person is about? Why are they here? What's making them tick? What's their survival strategy? What's the heart of all of that? And then kind of condensing that story into those key components. So even though there was far more footage than we could ever include, I think our team did a really good job of, like, getting to the heart of everyone's story and telling it in a way that was authentic. And so
And
observers were generally happy when they would see the episodes, and that always meant a lot.
that's I think that's great. I mean, I think that's so important to make sure that, the people that you're filming feel like you're doing it in a respectful way. And those details that you're talking about, the character and the story, like that is storytelling at its core. And that's something that AI is never going to be able to replace.
Well, don't threaten them because they might just try to prove you wrong.
Well, look, here's my rules. AI can do, like, if I were to add, like, I could probably go into ChatGPT and be like, hey, give me, I mean, I know I can do this. I can go and like, hey, here's this idea I have for this fantasy epic. Here's my premise. Can you write me, and here's kind of characters I'm thinking. Can you write me a hero's journey screenplay using a traditional 3-act structure? Like, it can do that. Like, like, the tools are there, it can do that. Like, so AI does understand storytelling. I think, I just don't think you still need a human to go in there and look at it and refine it, because a lot of it feels kind of generic and derivative.
Mm,
It can do it, and it can give good stuff, but, like, a lot of it, is pulling from the whole internet, a lot of it can feel generic, and so I think, as storytellers, what makes us unique is our own unique perspective and POV and our experience, Um, like, each of us have our brand as storytellers, and that brand is really tied to, like, who are you as a person? What do you believe? What's your view on the world? And that is what I think, like, if you're working with AI as a creative partner, like, it's that human perspective and your own individuality that you need to bring to the AI output. So you can get AI to churn out that script, but then you gotta look at it with your lens and go in and revise it and tweak it, and make the changes to make it feel more human and make it feel more individual. And that's what I think elevates art.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, like a stock footage library, a stock photo library. All the photos kind, they look stock. Like, they have a certain stock look about them. They feel a little, I can't think of the word, but like a little,
staged or something.
yeah.
Soulless.
You know?
Yeah,
And I think I've seen a lot of AI output, because I've worked with AI as a writing partner on stuff. I'm working on an ad now.
right.
It helped me, and actually, it helped me write the script for my advertisement because there was a part I was stuck on, and I'm like, this is what I need to do. It gave me some lines. I was like, okay, great. I'm gonna tweak it a bit, but this is awesome. Um, but a lot of it can feel a little stock. So
Yeah.
I generally have to go in with my lens and my POV and tweak it and massage it to get something that feels more human.
That's so interesting. Kiran, I learned so much about AI today. This was amazing. I want to keep tracking your journey and have another conversation with you in a couple months and see what you've learned
Yeah.
since
Yeah,
it's
it might be.
going
We'll
so fast.
I know the rate things are going, like, who kn Yeah. I mean, this is something I don't know much about, but, like, there are whole agentic AI workflows, where literally, Sean, we're talking about, can you make a film with one button? Like, yes, I mean, there are already workflows that are trying to do that. Is the film good? Nah, not really, but, like, I mean, the tools are progressing, and I keep hearing buzz about agentic AI filmmaking. So
Mm.
yes, Jen, in 2 months from now,
Yeah.
maybe I'll know more about that, and we'll see what develops. But it definitely is an exciting time. Um, it is an exciting time, and I feel like in those communities, there's a lot of excitement. It feels very energizing, and it's fun, and it feels like being in something new and very creative, which is great. But we're all creatives. We don't have a project to work on.
Right.
Being in television is tough. It's not only is it, hey, how do I pay my bills, but it's like, where do I put my creative energy?
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
where do
Yeah.
I put my creative energy and my storytelling? And
Yeah.
when this now, like, AI tools are democratizing the means of production, then this can also become an outlet for storytellers to put creative energy. And then hopefully find a way to monetize it, make some money off of it.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
Yep. That's
definitely. I mean,
yeah.
that has to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, oh my gosh, this has been so great. I really, really enjoyed talking to you and learning, and congrats on your film and being brave and pivoting in a whole new world. And we're just, I don't know, I wish you all the best of luck.
Yeah. Thank you.